All right, so this is Cafe Touba.
Lubes, YouTube, we're back, and today we're going to be talking about Cafe Touba. Now, I've already made a video covering West African green tea, which is known as Ataya, but Cafe Touba is a phenomenon in Senegal and many parts of the Gambia and Mauritania. You see people drinking it waiting for a taxi, you see people drinking it going to work, you see people drinking it on street corners. Those little white cups that it's served in, you see them everywhere. So today we're going to talk about Cafe Touba, but I also want to talk a little bit about the person who brought it to the world. This is the only picture we have of Cheikh Amadou Bamba. Throughout parts of West Africa, you'll see this picture on the back of taxis, painted on the sides of walls, emblazoned on t-shirts, and in living rooms as a centerpiece. There are stories of him walking on water to find a place to pray while at sea, escaping from fires, and filling people with the world's greatest joy with just one glance of his eyes. He is undoubtedly one of the most influential figures in Senegalese history, and he's responsible for creating Senegal's most iconic beverage and one of its most powerful religious sects. While we are going to discuss the beverage, we need to give a little background knowledge of the legend himself, otherwise known as Serigne Touba. All right, so while we're talking about Cheikh Amadou Bamba, I thought it would be interesting if I showed you some clips of the city so you can get a good look at what Nouakchott looks like. And you might hear background sounds. I chose to include those so you can really get a feel for what the city is like here. So Cheikh Amadou Bamba, he's known by a couple of names here. He's known as Serigne Touba and Kadimou al-Rasoul. And he was born to a father who was a marabout, which is it's an important Islamic teacher, but oftentimes this marabout will also have mystical qualities. Like you would go to see a marabout if you wanted to have your future told to you. So he founded a religious movement within Islam that was known as Mouridism. All right, and so much of Cheikh Amadou Bamba's teachings stressed these things, okay? He really stressed to his students the need for pacifism, especially in the struggle against the colonial French administrators. All right, he was one of the first people to stress and urge nonviolent resistance. All right, the other qualities that he wanted to see out of his students were hard work and politeness. So Cheikh Amadou Bamba's teachings became so well known and widespread that he attracted this huge following in Senegal, and he helped to establish a city in Senegal called Touba, which would become the center of Mouridism, and to this day is the center of Mouridism. So he encouraged civil disobedience and nonviolent resistance amongst his followers, and he was able to convert several of the important leaders in French West Africa at the time. And when I talk about the important leaders in French West Africa, I'm talking about a lot of times the Wolof kings that were in charge of governing a certain region under the French. So he was able to convince a lot of these people to convert and to follow his belief system. So let's take a moment to acknowledge the fact that Cheikh Amadou Bamba was leading this movement of nonviolent resistance either prior to or concurrently with the civil disobedience measures promoted by Mahatma Gandhi. All right, it's something that we don't see in the history books often, but he was one of the earliest proponents of it. So the French were very concerned that Cheikh Amadou Bamba would use his power and influence to overthrow the colonial regime. It's important to note that across much of West Africa at this time, religious leaders were waging all-out war against the colonial governments. This is something that I knew happened a lot when I would be in a Gambian high school class, and the students knew this. There were religious marabouts that would lead wars and rebellions against the colonial invaders, right? So as a result, the French colonial government ordered Cheikh Amadou Bamba into exile and sent him to Gabon. So he spent 7 years in Gabon writing Islamic papers and religious poetry. Despite the fact that he was no longer in Senegal, his followers persisted in their commitment to the movement started by Bamba. Again, the French tried to reduce his influence, this time by sending him to Mauritania. Now, Mauritania has a very strong history in Quranic scholarship, and the French thought, let's embarrass him. We'll send him to live in Mauritania, the scholars there will call him a fraud, and word will spread and undermine any authority he has. In reality, when he came to Mauritania in 1903, the scholars were amazed and absolutely in awe of him. Here's what one of Mauritania's leading scholars said about him at the time. This man is an ocean. God has given him as much science and knowledge as he gave foam to the sea. His kindness resounds deeply in the world. He has no shortcoming, if it is not always to do good. When he appears, wisdom can be seen. All right, so I wanted to show you different places around the city that you can see a picture of Amadou Bamba. So this place right here is a dibiteri. This is like a West African barbecue, basically. It's a restaurant, and you can see him painted on the wall here. And so as I'm walking around this neighborhood, all of this is very quick walking distance. You see another picture up there in the upper left-hand corner. And here's another one that we're going to see. This time we're going to walk by a jewelry store. Again, this is right across the street. These are all right across the street from each other. You see his picture everywhere and on the back of taxi cars as well. As you see Cheikh Amadou Bamba right there on the left. So now talking about the coffee and what Cheikh Amadou Bamba had to do with it. Well, while he was in Gabon, he brought back some ingredients for making this coffee. All right, so Cafe Touba is made from coffee usually imported from other West African countries because Senegal does not grow coffee. I don't know if the climate won't do it. I think you need some sort of mountainous region to do it, but for whatever reason, coffee is not grown in Senegal. So they use, what gives it its distinctive flavor is they use something called salim, or jar as it's known in Wolof, and it's a black pepper, and it gives the coffee almost a spicy flavor. You never forget the first time you drink it, and almost on the back of your throat you get this spicy feeling back there. And they also use cloves as well. So it has a very unique taste to it. And you'll never forget the flavor of this drink because of this spicy and herbal flavor that accompany this familiar taste of coffee. And like ataya, you normally drink this with a very large amount of sugar. It has been said that Cheikh Amadou Bamba wanted to create a beverage that allowed his followers to chant and pray all through the night without getting tired or losing focus. And although this drink was originally created for religious purposes, you will see non-Morids and even non-Muslims drinking this beverage. It has become a secular drink that is consumed by the masses of Senegal. So Cheikh Amadou Bamba passed away in 1927 without ever having seen an independent Senegal. And every year, millions of people take a pilgrimage to Touba on the anniversary of his death. It's something called the Grand Magal. People, even in my village in the Gambia, a lot of people that I know, they left to travel all the way to Touba for the Grand Magal. Okay, and When he was alive, the Wolof king Lat Dior, he was trying to decide whether to keep fighting French colonizers. It was an effort that he was losing, so he sought Bamba's advice. The mystic wrote to the king, "To control the world, turn your back on it. Devote yourself to studies. Depose your arms. Liberate your soldiers and horses. In return, you will find something greater, inner peace and tranquility." All right, guys, I had a fun time shooting this video, making the video, and I'm looking forward to doing the same thing next week. So I'll see you next time.